Rachel with Cypress Textiles, and today we're going to be making the Istanbul Square from the 2020 VVCAL. We're going to start with, of course, a slip knot and a chain 3, and then just slip stitch in the third chain from the hook. And you can chain more here if you prefer. You can chain 4, some people chain 5, and then you could also magic ring. That would be great too. And then straight into this center ring, you're gonna make a beginning treble. So you're just gonna go straight into a single crochet first without chaining up or anything. Just go straight into that center ring with a single crochet and then chain 2. And that's gonna be the first treble of the round. And then we're gonna make 15 more treble crochet right in that center ring. So you're gonna have a total of 16. That includes the beginning treble. Okay, so now I have 16 trebles all together in my center ring. And now I'm just going to slip stitch into the first beginning treble here, into that top chain of the treble. So there we go, and make sure your slip stitch is not too tight so that it lays over the stitch like that. All right, in our next round, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into it. We're just gonna make single crochet treble in all of the stitches around. And by making single crochet treble, we're gonna have little bobbles form on the front side of the piece. And I'll show you how that works. So in the next treble stitch, not the one that we joined into, but the next one, just without chaining up, go ahead and make a single into that stitch. And then just go ahead and make a treble into the same stitch. Okay, so now when you make your next single, so now you've got something that looks like this. See how the treble is kind of curving because the single is so short and the treble is taller. So now you're gonna kind of push that treble to so that it sticks out 3D to the front. So just kind of like that, squish it down so that it sticks out to the front. And then at the same time, go into your next stitch for a single. And you can even like pull down on it so it really makes that single the right size so that it's not loose. And now you can see already that that first treble is sticking out to the front. And we'll do the next treble in the same stitch there. So now it's curving because it's wanting to stand tall and it can't because of the single. So just direct it to the front, squish down, and then in the next stitch, go ahead and make your next single. Okay, so here you can see the bobbles forming on the front side. Now, if you don't do anything to the treble, if you don't squish it to the front, let me show you something. So you've got your single and your treble here, right? Well, if you just come around like normal, like this, to go into the next stitch for your single, your bobble is gonna stick out at the back. See, it sticks out toward the back, and you can't even see the treble in the front. So that's why you need to purposefully push that treble to the front. And that way it'll be at the front. And if this is really irking you and it's just frustrating, you can always turn your work to the back and just work this around that way, and then they'll stick out to the front instead of sticking out to the back. It's just that I prefer the singles and the trebles to be showing right side facing. So that's how I wrote the pattern, you know, because I like the way it looks more with everything facing the right side. So that's how you're gonna work this round, just making single crochet treble in every treble stitch around. All right, so I finished with my round here. I've got single crochet treble in all the stitches around, and I'm ready to join into that first single crochet with a slip stitch. All right, so I've gone ahead and done that, and now my round is complete. So to start the next round, we're going to make a slip stitch into this treble, and make sure we're trying to travel over it. So just make sure your slip stitch is not tight, because then you won't be traveling very far. It needs to lay over that stitch. And then into the single crochet, we're gonna go ahead and make chain 2 first, and then into that single crochet, we're gonna make a puff stitch. So yarn over. This chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch or anything. You won't be able to see it whenever the round is done. So just yarn over, insert your hook into that single crochet, pull up a loop, and make that loop as tall as your chain 2. Okay, so it needs to be like that. And then yarn over again without tightening up that loop, and it gets tricky. So just keep everything loose over here. You don't want to have super big tension. Yarn over, and see how I'm keeping it loose? Insert your hook into the single, pull up a loop, and then one more time. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop. So now all of your loops are standing as tall as your chain 2. Then whenever you yarn over and draw the yarn through all the loops on the hook, now your puff is finished. And then we're going to chain 2 again. Okay, so we chain 2, and now we're going to make puff stitch in the next single crochet. I'll just show you again. I kind of show you in real time. Just keep it loose. All right, and then it's 3 times. Yarn over, draw the yarn through all the loops on the hook, and chain 2. All right, so that's going to be our repeat. Chain 2 and puff stitch in the next single crochet all the way around. All right, guys, so my round is complete here. I just need to join. So you can see all my puff stitches and my chain 2. And you can also see how this chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch because we're going to slip stitch into this first puff. All right, so there we go. Now into this chain space for the next round, we're going to start with a beginning 4DC cluster. So without chaining up, just go straight into a single crochet into that space, chain 1, and then you're going to yarn over, insert the hook, pull up a loop, draw the yarn through 2 loops on the hook, and repeat that twice more in this same chain space. All right, that way you have 4 loops on the hook because this is the beginning one. So you've got your beginning DC and then 3 more loops here. Then yarn over, draw the yarn through all 4 loops, and you've got your beginning 4DC cluster. Now chain 4. And then into the next chain space, we're going to work a regular 4DC cluster, not the beginning kind. So just yarn over and go straight into that space, pull up a loop, draw the yarn through 2 loops on the hook, and then just repeat that 3 more times in the same chain space. All right, and then you're going to have 5 loops on your hook this time because now you have that leading loop going in. Draw the yarn through all the loops in the hook, and you've got your 4DC cluster. So chain 4, and that's your repeat. Chain 4, 4DC cluster in the next chain space, all the way around. All right, so my round is finished. I'm ready to join into my first cluster here, and I'm going to show you how I join into a cluster just to make it the beginning 4DC cluster look like all the rest of them as much as possible. So I'm just going to go get all these loops on the hook, all 4 of those loops that I used for my cluster, and then make my slip stitch right there so that it lines up with those loops, and that is going to help make the 40C cluster look like all the rest of them. All right, so into the next chain space, we're going to start our next round. So we're going to go straight into working 4 single crochet, no chaining up, just go into 4 singles, and then into the next chain space, we're going to make this our corner. We're going to do 3 trebles, if I can do it, 3 trebles, chain 3. Oh, I see. Goodness. All right. So 3 treble crochet. And then a chain 3 and 3 trebles in the same stitch. Chain 3 and 3 trebles. All right, and then once you're finished with that corner, you're going to work 4 single crochet in the next chain space. And then 3 in the next chain space. And now we're back to the beginning of our repeat. So we're going to do 4 singles, 3 treble, chain 3, 3 treble, 4 singles, and then 3 singles. And then just repeat that 3 more times until you're back at the beginning. Okay, so you can see how that last round squares off the circle so that we're getting going for our final round here, which is just gonna be single crochet in all of the stitches to the corner space and then 5 singles in the corner. So you're just gonna start with your next single and just work single crochet in all of the stitches around. Then when you get to a corner space, you're gonna make 5 singles in that corner until you're back to the beginning of the square. All right, so you can see how this round looks when it's finished. And I'm gonna go ahead and clip the yarn there. I've joined into the first single with a slip stitch. And that is the ending of our Istanbul Square from the 2020 VVCAL. I'm gonna make more videos for all the rest of the squares, so stay tuned on this YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. And if you wanna see the written patterns and the charts, you can go to cypresstextiles.net and it's all free on my website.